You said that you would like let me finish my sentence.
Sondsol.
Oh my
Sondsol.
God! Is this a conversation the entire time? Just you interrupting me?
Yeah, but
because I actually haven't been able to have
this
an entire
misstatement
statement
cannot
all
be
the way.
borne, unfortunately.
Okay, well then
Sondsol.
let me say the rest of my misstatement, and then you can blow me the fuck out on it in a second. Okay. But holy shit, I haven't been able to get a single full like thought out this entire conversation. May I? Thank you. So.
Spontaneously, I don't see responding to anything. You say here, Demon Mama and poly people being trans advocates is the worst thing to happen to the trans community since Jessica Yaniv. Jessica Yaniv is famous for soliciting inappropriate relations with underage girls online. This is in
I thought it was about the waxing stuff, but
it would behoove you to be more aware of these when you make these comparisons. But this is in the light of these two individuals, among others, referencing a trans genocide going on in light of a wave of legislation that intends to remove trans children from homes where they are given life-saving treatments, removing access to life-saving treatments to trans youths generally, to disallow them from being spoken of in the public school settings. They are effectively depersoned until people grow to adulthood and are regarded as they were in the 90s as weird strangers with a mental disorder, and are being generally treated and regarded and spoken of as groomers and pedophiles by a massive part of the politically engaged community in the United States. I'm a little bit perplexed as to why you would think this is a good idea or an appropriate way to describe these two.
So this is my basic way of doing things online. So for me, I think that trying to engage with someone as good faith as possible is the best way to go until they are no longer interested in engaging in good faith themselves. I've experienced that with both the Demon Mama and poly people. So when they say things that are like super reprehensible, I'll be a little bit.
You will compare them to sex offenders and pedophiles in public.
Well, I'll be very well. Hold on. I'll be like very, very spicy with the way that I describe things. But I think that I can defend everything that I said. So when I talk about,
you can defend comparing Demon Mama and poly people to Jessica Yaniv, who is famous for again.
Yeah, you can keep on saying it over and over again, or you can let me explain.
Continue.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that when I'm talking about like they are the worst thing to happen to the trans community since this person, I'm talking about the way that they their effects on the discourse. I think I even said as much in multiple replies that people were upset at me. I said in terms of their effect on the discourse, I 100% believe this. I've had discussions with both.
What's their effect on the discourse?
I'm trying. I took a breath. So
yeah, well, no, you're going on to you've had discussions. Just tell me what their effect on the discourse was.
Yeah,
we don't need a big preamble. Just
by talking. Well, I let you do a big preamble. I'm trying to be like pretty chill. All right. So
I have no chill. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. All right. I know that you drink on stream, so I took a big swig of vodka right before this. All right, because I want to match your energy. All right. So
this is apple juice.
Oh, you're drinking apple juice. Well, now I feel like I've come to a party, over prepared. Fuck. Anyways, so I think that, yeah, so like in my discussions that I've had with poly people and previously with Demon Mama, she no longer engages with me very much. Their approach,
why.
Well, it has more to do with her trying to ruin someone's life through doxing and shit. So I don't know if you want to defend her on that one.
Whose life did she try to ruin through doxing?
She tried to like have RGR removed from the Maryland Bar Association, so she couldn't.
You mean the Maryland Bar Association that everybody already knew she was a part of because she advertised herself?
Yeah, and then she tried to get people. She like mobilized her audience by signal boosting all of the people in her audience who were saying we need to report her to the Maryland Bar Association. But I don't want to like get off.
Yeah, she was Peter jacketing dough on stream for no reason. That was
okay. Yeah, we're gonna super disagree on that, but that's not the topic of today's conversation. I was just like,
yeah, but you're going to charge somebody with doxing. It would be helpful if you could actually point to an instance of them doxing someone, and not simply referring to them holding a public figure to account who double dips both in terms of their advocacy offline and online.
So when it comes to talking,
Doxing means
oh
you're
my gosh,
identifying.
I
Doxing means you're identifying a person where they haven't made that identity known. That's not what Demon Mama did. It couldn't have been.
so number one, this is completely off the topic of the fucking thing. You're trying to like
You brought
move
it up,
away.
not me. Continue.
You're the one that wanted to focus on it. Okay, we can just move off of it. So when we're talking about like the things that like their rhetoric is put out there in a certain sort of way, right? And I even have talked to Polly about this. I've seen Demon Mama talk about this multiple times. They don't think that you should ever try to meet people where they're at or try to like bring people over to a more pro-trans position. They are more in line with, you know, shaming and beating people down until they are no longer they no longer have a voice in society. I think that this is like really
Really, who have they
shitty.
done this with? Who lacks a voice in society as a consequence, or as a
Polly's
reasonable
stated
consequence?
hold on. I don't watch Polly's content. This is a stated position that she has had in a conversation with me. I mean, like if you want to review the conversation that I had with her, it's on my YouTube. You can take that content and you can, you know, do a review of it and tell everyone why I'm super wrong. But I'm just like stating.
I've got a better idea. Chat, why don't you let Polly know I'm streaming now? Tell her she's welcome on anytime. Continue.
Okay, cool. So I love the sneaky way to make this a 2v1. So we are.
Well, you don't have to be here. That's okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So we were talking about the way they are engaging with people. Oh yeah, so I think I deeply care about trans issues. I have a lot of very close friends who are trans. I have done a lot of soul searching myself to overcome my own gender issues. Right, I've done a lot of research.
Can I ask you a question since you bring that up?
Well,
but I'd really like to. I'd really like to ask you a question.
I haven't gotten through a full sentence yet.
I will let you finish a lengthy sentence afterwards.
Okay, yeah, go for it, buddy.
All right. So since you care so much, in fact, that you will actually compare once again. To your credit, you didn't know she was being inappropriate with kids, but you compared her to someone who was characterized as a sex offender, Demon Mom and Polly people. You compare them to Jessica Yaniv. Since you saw fit to do that because they were being strident in your view with respect to their discourse around the supposed trans genocide, where else have you been advocating on your Twitter against all of these policies? Has this been a focus for you, or is this basically your only major engagement on this issue?
I talk about trans issues all the time on stream.
As I scroll down,
yeah,
I gotta say, I'm not seeing a lot here. It seems like your
because my Twitter is small.
On this platform,
because my Twitter is very small, and I mostly use it for drama.
On this issue is only negatively disposed towards people like that.
Wow, that was an epic dunk that you wanted to interrupt my entire intro, little explanatory, like why my position is the way that it is.
No, it's a question. Can you produce? Yes, I've already.
I mean, yeah, sure. I had a huge trans lifeline. What do you call it? Fundraiser in 2020, where I had some of the largest fucking trans people in this space come on for multiple hours and talk about their experiences. It was 48 hours straight. I was emceeing for, I think 40 hours of it. We raised $9,500. Hassan rated in. Demon Mama was featured. So was Lady Rain Cloud and Vivian Wolf. I mean, like, if you want to, like,
sounds like great content 2 years ago. Well done.
Wait, hold on. Are you like trying to ask me if I like actually care about these things, or no?
I'm not asking you if you care about those things.
Because it seems like that's what you were doing.
No, what I'm asking you is,
if this entire conversation is just going to be about like purity testing me, then I'm going to ask you, why is it that you're coming on here to like virtue signal to me when you don't even believe that there's a trans genocide yourself?
I do believe there's a trans genocide. I've been very explicit about that.
Okay, well, how about if I pulled up a clip of you saying that you don't agree with calling it a genocide? Would you walk everything back?
I think that the term genocide is fraught because it has evocations of the Holocaust in particular, which means that when people use the term genocide and they are not met with people being loaded onto trains to go into work camps to be executed, they're a little bit perplexed. And so if we had something that more particularized the situation at hand than genocide generally, that would be helpful. But it is a genocide. It actually meets most of the definitions. In fact, the only way it doesn't meet the UN definition is that gender isn't included.
So I have a quote here. Look, I don't agree with the language of genocide here, and I don't agree with the language of genocide Oh, well, sorry, I copied and pasted it from your YouTube video. You don't agree with the language of genocide. I think the term is hopelessly fraught, and I think it tends specifically to debates like this that are obscuring what is actually at stake. I think the term itself is too much of occasions, or dependent too much on occasions.
Why don't you give me a
conditions.
link so we can actually look at the
Sure,
clip
yeah, 1
instead
million
of
percent.
you
Yeah,
you
we can
copying
1
pasting
million
the
percent do.
transcript.
Yeah, 1 million percent.
Which video was it?
Loner Vox versus Poly People Mega Analysis, Volume 1. Yeah, so you basically, you say, and this is my understanding of what your statement here was, that you don't agree with the term genocide because you feel like the definition isn't actually fitting in with what we're trying to describe here. And
I don't say the definition doesn't fit into what we're trying to describe here. In fact, in this video, I say that, I'm pretty sure in this video, I actually directly confirmed that. I don't know if I mentioned that in my review. But I don't say the definition doesn't
Sure,
fit.
I didn't watch your entire video.
The initial circumstances in which it came to be used, that is like during the end of the Second World War,
Yes.
and the specific reference that the UN had in mind, particularized it to the Holocaust and the evocations we have, because we've overemphasized the Holocaust as the quintessential genocide.
Well, I mean, that's where
we
the
only
term
think of we
comes
tend to what?
Like as from my understanding, when we were looking up this on stream, the term genocide was like literally coined in like the 1940s because
your understanding's fraught. The initial definition by Lemkin is more broad. It was narrowed down by the UN Security Council when they were formulating what their response would be to it.
Okay.
There's a book on this. Like he
Sure.
wrote
Wait,
a
hold on,
book
really
about
quick.
this.
I don't think you understand what my point was. Like, yeah,
I
like
don't.
the term was coined as a response to the genocide because Winston Churchill said that it was a sin with no name because it was so bad. But like,
yes,
that
but
aside,
Lemkin was concerned as well with colonial actions that resulted in the disappearances of large communities. It wasn't simply the Holocaust. The issue, though, is that it's been heavily associated with the Holocaust. So in an ideal world, we have a more particular term. However, as I go on to say in the clip that you linked me to, the fact of the matter is that because we're already using this term, and this has a particular role in our language, arguing about it only undercuts the efforts of people who are trying to address the real problems that are encompassed within it that are ongoing right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And then I wanted to say that I disagree with just because there are some people that are using this term that we necessarily have to engage with this term in the same way that they are. Because if we're going to say that, okay, well, these people are using this term and, well, it has a certain
Sondsol, the reason why I asked you if you had any other engagement on the issues encompassed within transgenocide up until you started comparing the effects of Demon Mama and Poly People to Jessica Yaniv was because I don't believe, based on what I have seen, that absent that term, you would engage with this issue at all.
Yeah.
I think the nuisance of that term is the only thing that actually caught your attention. I don't think you give a shit.
Yes, because I think that by using that term that is hyperbolizing the effect of what's going on right now.
That's not hyperbolizing the effect, it's an apt description.
Okay.
That is an apt description.
You said that you would like let me finish my sentence.
Sondsol.
My God. Is this conversation the entire time just going to be interrupting me?
Yeah, but
because I actually haven't been able to have
this
an entire
misstatement
statement
cannot
all
be
the way.
borne, unfortunately.
Okay, well then
Sondsol.
let me say the rest of my misstatement and you can blow me the fuck out on it in a second, okay? But holy shit, I haven't been able to get a single full like thought out this entire conversation. May I? Thank you. So, I think that when we use words, we need to be very specific with these things. Or at least we need to like use a word that is in the ballpark of what we're talking about. Maybe there is a word that is close to genocide or encapsulates like all the things that is happening to the trans community right now, all of which are fucking bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that.
You think the Uyghur genocide is a genocide?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Do you think the Uyghur genocide is a genocide?
I'm almost done. I will answer that question immediately.
Yes or no?
afterwards.
Just very quickly. We don't need to go into detail.
No, I will answer that question immediately afterwards. So I think that if we hyperbolize things so fucking greatly, then we're never going to be able to bring people over, which is my entire concern. The entire reason that Republicans are able to go through and make all these stupid fuck bills talking about like, oh, well, trans children are being turned trans and given surgeries.
It's because of Demon Mama and Poly People just being too,
it's because of
much,
trans
right?
activists that are not willing to engage.
Of course. It's the trans people that are the problem. Well done.
I'm sorry. Are all trans activists trans?
Are all trans activists trans? Well, who do you have in mind?
Do you wait? Hold on. Do you really think that do you consider yourself someone that fights for trans rights, that fights for people to understand the trans experience and empathize with it and be more pro-trans?
Those weirdos? God, no. Can you name any other ones? Or do you only know trans ones? I'm just curious if you have a point of reference.
I would consider Vosh to be a trans activist.
Jesus Christ. All right, continue. Keep digging this hole.
Well, I don't know. I think that anyone who is an activist that wants to increase the ability for trans people to acquire the medical stuff that they need, I would probably consider them to be a trans activist, especially if that's like a major part of the content that they produce or the advocacy that they go out into the world and do. But, so where was I before you interrupted me for the 45th time? I think that when we sit
6
here,
feet, I think. Continue.
So I think that when we go around and we hyperbolize things incredibly to the point where we use terms that people associate with the Holocaust, where people were gassed and experimented on and shit like that, I think that we start losing people that might otherwise be willing to listen to us, right?
Look.
So for example, if we were to look at the average person that has jumped onto this anti-trans, trans people are groomers, or they're trying to turn people into
this is forever, right? This record doesn't go away. What you're saying here, you may feel like you're doing a good job because you have conversational flow, but I don't think you understand.
Said a single point because you're so fucking eager to get it done.
I'm probably doing you a favor, Sondsol. I don't think you thought this through at all.
I think that when we look at the way that people are really, really upset with these things, we can generally look at a lot of fucking parents who are generally pro-LGBT, right? They generally are just you can do whatever you want, but they get really freaked out when they hear the talking points from people on the right that are talking about, they're teaching kids to be trans in schools and they're confusing kids and shit like that. And instead of saying, oh, well, I think that those things are obviously bad and we should disavow those things 100%. People will instead just go full-fledged into it and say no, that shit's base. They should be talking to kids as young as 4 about their genitalia in public schools, right? And
they do anyways. What public school are you aware of that doesn't have, for example, books about parents or baby dolls or princes and princesses or any of these things that all involve human sexuality and reproduction? It seems to me the only distinction here is that you can't actually think about gay people or trans people outside of their sexual capacity because they're weird perverts in your imagination.
Wow, holy shit. That is fucking absurd. I mean, I can think of at least one school, the one that I work at, where I work with people who are...
Where they banned Disney films because Disney
I didn't
parents
say that you have to get
children,
rid of... Hold on.
and they get married.
So this is what happens when you actually don't listen to a
romances.
single fucking word that I say, and instead you're just trying to find the quickest dunk that you can, all right? Because I would never be okay with the don't say gay bill. I've actually argued with people on stream about the don't say gay bill. I don't approve of that. I think that's fucking stupid. That's obviously not what the fuck I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about the Republican straw men that people are putting out there that are scaring the fuck out of people who are concerned about their children, right? So if we are able to put out
They're
a counter...
concerned about their children, Sondsol, because of people like you who are helping to convey the myth.
Sure, okay, President Sunday, I'm going to challenge you right now. Tell me one...
groomers.
Yeah, sure. Tell me one time. Show me one screenshot of me saying that all trans people or trans teachers are groomers. Is that what this conversation is going to be? Because it is actually...
Well,
you're saying that that's what my position is. I'm making people think
I
I'm pushing this narrative.
I have to hand, Timmy, exactly one example of you even addressing this issue. And in it, you chose to compare the 2 trans people you've had any interaction with, to my knowledge, in our sphere, to somebody who's
the
famous
only time
for
I've
being
ever
a
tweeted
pedophile.
About trans people is because I called poly people and demon mama just as harmful to trans discourse.
Pedophile. But you clarified, I was only aware that she had been characterized as a sex offender because she was insisting on people waxing
This is your
their
only
genitals.
thing? Holy shit, you're so fucking scared to actually talk about the genocide topic.
You're
that,
confused.
No,
this
no,
is,
no.
no, no.
There's no confusion here. Sunday.
This
Sunday.
is your
This
only
is your...
thing.
No,
this
no, no.
is your
No, because
only
I've tried
thing.
to like talk about the actual
This
thing
is
that we
your
came here to
only
talk
thing.
about, like about genocide,
Yes,
but now you're
yes.
trying to go back to the tweets.
And in the course of which we got everything we need. You denied it's a
Oh
genocide.
yeah, so you want to cut this conversation short before there's any fucking
Oh God, no, you're here for like an hour after this.
Oh, I'm loving it. So let me speak then.
Brilliant.
So I think
Just-
that when we're
Slow
not
down,
putting out
cowboy.
the best kind of rhetoric, the best
The
that
best
we can
kind
put
of
out,
rhetoric.
the best that
That's
we
the
can.
is that the best kind of rhetoric you're capable of, Sondsol? What I'm seeing on your Twitter right now?
No, but I'm not a face of the fucking trans community, am I? So I think that
Definitely
we need to
not.
have better. We have to have better representation. People that aren't going out here and saying that, oh yes, we are being genocided. And people in that thread, if you want to scroll through it, there's plenty of fucking
Sondsol.
examples of this, of them
Sondsol.
comparing themselves to the
Sondsol.
Jews in Nazi Germany.
Sondsol,
So if
we
you
have
want to say that they're,
scientific-
hold
Sondsol,
on,
it is
no,
established.
no, there's
Yes.
no scientific. There's no science
Yes,
in the fucking
there
Twitter
is.
thread. Not in this
There-
Twitter thread.
not on the
when
Twitter
we
thread.
look at,
Sondsol.
yeah, when we look at the
Sondsol.
way that people are
Sondsol.
responding, when we look at the way that
Sondsol.
people are
Stop
responding
and
there,
breathe.
and literally
Stop.
comparing themselves to the
Breathe.
Jews in Nazi Germany, I think that
Indeed.
we might turn
Sondsol.
people off to listening to them. Thank you for letting me finish.
You're welcome. Sondsol, we have the Florida Medical Board saying that they are okay. It's perfectly okay that as a result of their decisions, trans youths will die. We have a wave of legislation across the country, across your country, thank God. You're not in Canada, are you?
Unfortunately, I am in the United States.
Okay, so we haven't produced that one at least. We have a wave of legislation across your country that is trying to make it, has succeeded in some cases, in making it so that trans people can't even be discussed. They are a weird pariah. Okay? We have a massive discourse about them being groomers and pedophiles, effectively a parasitic monster sub-community that has to be dealt with like criminals. They've been effectively depersoned, or there is a widespread attempt to deperson them that could be totally effective within as little as one generation if it's actually able to hold. It would take a few successful elections to make all of these things go through, and for us to be set back 20 years. It is still the case in many places that a condition of even fully transitioning medically requires a trans person, because of holdovers from the history of eugenics, to sterilize themselves so they can't reproduce their genes into the general population. It's not just that there's a trans genocide going on right now, it's that there has effectively been one at some level going on basically continuously since the last century. And now there's a push to intensify it. What?
Do you think that like in the last century that's when this shit started? Do you, if it's
Yes,
an ongoing,
we used to not have it. We used to not have a term for trans people. They used to be grouped under the category of inverts, and part of their treatment was they would have themselves
were they not
be rendered
trans back
unable
then?
to reproduce. What?
Were they not trans back then?
They weren't referred to as trans back then.
But
We
were
didn't
they
have a
still
word for it.
trans?
They would still be trans as we understand the term today. Yes.
Okay, so I don't think that any of this that you've described is genocide right here. All right. What you've described here is systemic oppression for goddamn sure. I'm not going to sit here and say that trans people don't have it fucking bad.
Here's the UN. Here are the UN conditions of genocide. It's short. It's short. I'm sure you do. So listen. Story time, kids.
Do you think that black people were being genocided
Article
in the United
2
States?
of the United Nations
Sure,
Convention
you
for
can
the
read them all
Prevention and
off, or you can just have it up
Punishment-
on screen because
I'm
I
just
already
gonna-
know them.
I'm just gonna-
right because
I'm
you've
just
been
gonna-
you've been filibustering this entire conversation and said we could just
That's
have
okay.
a back and forth.
That is okay.
If
We will
you
be
want to
fine.
fucking go through it, do you think that
Children,
black people, based off of this
Come around and
definition, have
listen.
been
Article 2
genocided?
of the United Nations Convention for the
Do you think that
Prevention and
people have-
Punishment of
do
the
you think
Crime
black
of
people have been
Genocide defines
genocided in the
genocide.
United States?
Yes,
off-
as a matter of fact.
For the
Crime of
past 400
genocide
years, we've been genociding black people in the United
defines
States.
genocide as any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part, actually a bunch of ethnicities and groups within that category. Defines genocide as any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, such as A, killing members of the group. We already have medical decisions being made by medical authorities that have been proven to result in the deaths of trans youths.
Hold on, real
B,
quick. We're going to
causing
do
serious bodily. B,
part A.
causing serious
you said
bodily
because there are
or
doctors
mental
that have
harm to members
you
of the
said that
group.
because there are doctors who
That
have
is
said that
continuous
they don't
with A.
want there to be
C,
they don't want to give the medical care.
deliberately.
That is
C,
an action of the state.
C, deliberately
You're going to
inflicting on the
say-
group
you're going to say-
conditions of
okay.
life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. You had a medical board member saying directly to a complainant at a conference, at a media conference, it's okay. Their blood will be on your hands. That's okay. D, imposing measures to prevent births within the group. This one's a little less known. Once again, it is a condition of many transition treatments that you are sterilized in the process. E, forcibly transferring children from one group to another. It is actually already the case that children have been removed from homes on the grounds that transition therapy is considered child abuse. The category of person is being targeted for elimination by the state, by people who are trying to take power within the state, and they're succeeding in many cases.
In what state is that happening in?
In what state is what happening? I mentioned a few. There's Florida, there's Texas.
That bill in Texas was struck down. It was defeated. It is a dead bill. That has not happened in Texas.
Which hasn't happened in Texas?
Children being forcibly removed from their homes. You can look up the bill right now. It is a dead bill. It passed the Senate. It did not pass the House.
That doesn't matter. There's a concerted effort to do so. It's not. It doesn't cease to be a genocide just because the ashes haven't settled on the ground yet.
The ashes haven't even begun falling. Is the problem? The ashes haven't even begun,
they haven't.
Being produced.
They have started falling.
Yeah. Wait. Are they falling?
The inability
to
access, the inability to access these treatments will cause people to die. They have already determined that they are willing to accept this condition on purely ideological grounds.
Okay, may I speak? Or are you going to interrupt me immediately?
You can say whatever you want.
Wait, hold on. The second part of that is very important to me. Are you going to interrupt me the second that I start speaking again?
Hang on, I'm reading something. You do whatever you want to do.
Okay, so you said that there are doctors who are not providing medical care to people who are looking for trans health care. If that's what a genocide is, this is the nicest genocide of all fucking time.
There was a time, Sondsol, when people weren't expected to have access to running water. If you cut an entire community of people, targeted to that community specifically, from access to running water, that would be as much a genocide as it is to cut access to them for treatments that are known scientifically to prevent their deaths.
So cutting water is equal to genocide. Is that what your position is?
Targeting a group, cutting their water is actually recognized by international law
targeting a group
as genocide.
With
Even that
to
narrow
destroy
definition.
In whole or part. Right?
That's not the only. There's actually precedent for this. No, cutting their access to essentials of life. Yes, targeting them that way. Yes. I asked you a question earlier, by the way.
Systemic oppression. So wait, I gotta ask
happening?
You.
Is what is happening?
I can
you don't
actually,
have to ask me
yes,
anything.
No, I can 100% answer your question. Now I'm going to ask you.
You're a lemon. Listen, if you
listen, I'm at least a lime.
Is the Uyghur genocide? Is what's happening to the Uyghurs in China a genocide?
I think that the difference between what we can see between the supposed trans genocide that's going on right now and the Uyghur genocide is that the
Uyghurs aren't dying with as much reliability.
No, because I would say that the Uyghurs are actually I think that now it's been ramped down because of all the fucking sanctions that have happened to them. But with the Uyghur genocide, we could actually see a clear intent and policy of that fucking entire country to try and remove their culture to bring them into compliance or, destroy them in the process. All right.
Sondsol,
with the
Sondsol, what is gender? Sondsol, what is gender? What is gender?
What? Hold on. We're not getting into that fucking discussion. That is way too fucking...
What is gender? What is it?
It is a multifaceted explanation for how
at a very low level of resolution. Just what is it?
If I
it's
give
a
you
cultural,
a low,
it's a cultural category, right? It's a cultural category of person.
It's a way of it's a form of identity that is culturally dependent in some ways, and
culturally dependent almost categorically, because we don't say that someone's sex is determinant of their gender. That's the entire.
No, I didn't say that their sex is determinant of their gender, but there's so much more. I don't like.
It's culturally ensconced. We identify genders based upon a cultural situation.
To a certain degree, yes.
No, basically entirely. That's why we've
Not
separated the term from
entirely,
sex.
because
Entirely.
even if we were to remove someone from a society, I think that they would still have some conception of like who they were, right?
Who they were with respect to how they dress and their role in society. No, you need society for that.
So do you think that like there would be no trans people if we just got rid of society? If you like someone is a gender if they like grow up out in the wilderness?
Body dysphoria is not identical to gender.
No, this would be gender dysphoria.
Well, we would call it gender gender dysphoria. I mean, sometimes it's used colloquially to refer to this as well, but gender dysphoria more specifically refers to dysphoria with respect to how you've been situated in your society. Like biological dysphoria can exist outside of trans people too.
Well, yeah, there is body dysmorphia. Okay, see, this is like why I didn't want to fucking talk about like what is gender, because now we're going to get into like a deep philosophical, because we're going to agree on what gender is for the most part. All right.
The point is that if the only distinction you can find is that a group identified along cultural lines is being targeted for extermination by the Chinese state, and that's what makes it a genocide.
Okay, so
That's
now you're talking
precisely
about
what's going on with respect to
extermination, but
trans
you
people.
haven't talked about any extermination for trans people, right? Which is why I would like talk to you. Like I would say, like yes, there's all like obviously.
Even
hold on, wait.
even
I just want to finish
discussion
one
about
fucking
them.
sentence. I just want to finish.
I don't
one fucking
care.
sentence.
Even discussion.
Yeah, of course
about
you
them.
don't, because you don't actually
Of
care about
course I
having
don't.
discussions. You don't care
Not
about
with
having
you.
discussions.
You're worthless.
Yeah, you
even,
don't. Well,
even
everyone
the,
that you talk to is worthless because you don't let anyone fucking respond. Every single fucking
not
video
true.
you've put out there that has any fucking views is you not fucking destroying them in the marketplace of ideas, but not allowing them to talk because you think that they're just like ontologically evil, or you think that they're just too fucking stupid to engage with. And instead, like you could, yeah.
And
well,
you're
yeah.
a bad person.
Yeah, well, I'm a bad person. Well, you haven't even been able to hear any of my fucking positions because you haven't listened to any of them.
All right, continue.
Thank you. So I think that when we look at what's going on right now, there's systemic oppression, but systemic oppression is not the exact same thing as genocide, right? I think that we have to delineate these things. Otherwise, we're going to just call everything that happens at a systemic level genocide. And at that point, genocide means fucking nothing. But genocide is something that is really, really important for us to make sure we have a clear definition on. Otherwise, people are going to get away. Hold on, wait, I'm almost done. This is the last part of my fucking statement. There's the last part.
Continue.
Yes, thank you. All right, I can't do that again. Please don't make me do that again because my voice isn't going to last. Okay,
I can do this all day. Go on.
Okay, you have a deeper voice than me. It's not fair. So I think that if we allow the word genocide to just be used for any systemic oppression that's going on, even depending on how long or how hard that systemic oppression is, like we're diluting it and we're going to allow people to get away with genocides that are significantly worse and actually like align with what our conception and definition, legal and colloquial, for genocide is, right? I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay, so the use of genocide in your language is basically to determine after the fact, once everybody is already dead, that, yep, they did a Holocaust. I approve it.
That's exactly what I said.
That is exactly what you said. You're
that's
just too
word
stupid
for
to realize
word.
it. Do you have any final thoughts, or do you want to stick around, or what do you want to do?
No, I
do
do
you
want to stick around. I want to talk to you, because you're talking.
There's nothing else to talk about on this issue. Once again, your immediate impulse.
Man, I really wanted. I was actually excited to talk about. I was really excited to talk to you because I think that you're a relatively smart person.
I don't share your enthusiasm.
The only time that I've seen you engage in an intelligent manner was against Sitch and Adam.
I'm just a jaded son of a bitch. So.
The only time I've ever seen you engage with someone in good faith was Sitch and Adam.
Unfortunately.
And the unfortunate reality is that you are so desperate to not
I am
hear
the
me
absolute
talk.
worst. I'm Satan incarnate.
It's not that you're Satan incarnate. It's that you're so scared to let anybody talk on your fucking platform because they might say something that you won't be able to refute.
Sondsol?
You will not let them speak.
Sondsol?
Yeah.
Nobody alive is afraid of you.
I'm not, listen, I'm not trying to physically intimidate you, all right? You're scared of losing subscriber and fucking face on the internet. That's what I'm saying. You are the epitome of what it means to be like a weird clout chaser because you're too scared to let people talk.
Yeah,
you know that you can virtue signal for a couple of seconds. And I will challenge you now. And this will be my last thing. This will be my last thing. I will challenge you now. Can you steel man my position as I have stated it?
Yeah, your only input on this issue, as far as I can ascertain in recent history, and by recent I mean within the span of the last 2 years, is to compare two people who are drawing attention to the fact that trans people are being targeted for policies that will result in many of their deaths and to be excluded from public discourse, to be completely depersoned, and in other things as well, to be segregated, yada, 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 yada. Your only input was to compare two of the ones that you happen to have within arm's reach to a known pedophile.
Wow, holy shit. So yeah, you are admitting right now that you did not listen to a goddamn word that I said whatsoever in this entire conversation. You are such a fucking coward to talk to anybody about the things that they believe. You cannot let them speak. You cannot, you're so scared of actually putting out what their position is. My position is that I think that there are better and worse ways to have discourse. And when we allow, Sondsol, you're not going to let me finish?
Sondsol.
Yeah.
Sondsol, this isn't a rap battle.
It's not a rap battle. I'm not even talking that fast.
Slow down.
Try again. Try and steal man my position again.
Follow me. You will be happier. Find your inner peace.
Trust me, I'm super peaceful right now.
The problem with you, Sondsol, is that you're not good at anything. So the only thing you can do, is you can desperately try to jump in when you see a conflict involving other people and to try to imitate their mannerisms and to speak really, really fast so you can skirt by to a very undiscriminating audience, giving the impression that you have anything to say just by the bare fact of running words fluidly out of your mouth like vomit.
Did you have like a notepad open with all of Destiny's positions and just assume that those were all my positions?
I'm not talking about Destiny.
Oh yeah, you're not talking about Destiny? You're saying that I'm copying other people's mannerisms and shit like that, and you're not talking about Destiny?
It's typical Twitch poll speech. This is like a known thing.
Oh, so who am I emulating?
Oh, God only knows. I think I used to see Vosh doing this a little bit. Jangles does. The difference is he's right about things more often than you. Oh, we used to quite a bit, yeah.
I've always had to put that guy on fucking 1.75 speed.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Nothing that you're saying right now.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So you are.
Yeah?
So yeah,
what am I?
you legitimately think, you legitimately stated in full seriousness in front of your entire audience and mine, that you think cutting off water to a community, targeting them on basis of gender,
was Crimea committing a genocide against the Russians by cutting off, or I'm sorry, Ukraine cutting off water to Crimea? Was that a genocide of Russians?
They were being attacked by Crimea. They were being invaded by a state.
Oh, you said cutting off water.
Cutting off water to a community internally, to a community targeted on the basis of some specific categorization that actually results in the elimination of a gens, or can be reasonably inferred to be targeting people on the basis of them constituting a group of the citizenry to make them disappear as something to which the government has any sort of duty? Yes, categorically.
So you're applying now. We're going to apply all of those extra things.
It's not even
things now, so that you can justify not calling the Ukrainians genocidal freaks, right? You didn't add all those extra things on when you just said cutting off water. Okay, cool.
We don't call cutting off the flow of resources from the center of a state to the periphery of a state once it's been conquered by an invading force. We don't call that genocide.
Wait, this has been going on since 2014. They were no longer
they were being invaded throughout that entire period. It doesn't cease being an invasion just because you stopped caring about it because it became stale.
Okay, yeah.
Russia annexed Ukraine illegally.
Give me another position
That's an invasion.
that I haven't said at all to virtue signal to your audience so that they don't, hear that you're completely dodging any question that I've asked you.
Sondsol.
Yeah.
We are concerned with genocide when we are talking about the treatment of populations within the purview of a state.
Mm-hmm.
The trans community is being targeted by state actors for complete depersoning. Even Lonerbox acknowledges there's a process of trans erasure going on.
Yeah, I even tried to get to that, but you keep on interrupting me. I even said in this
I
conversation
don't
when you
care.
didn't interrupt me,
Sondsol,
that I totally recognize all the
exception,
horrible things that are going on
Sondsol,
with the trans
Sondsol,
community.
Sondsol,
But unfortunately, you have to
Sondsol,
Sondsol me because you don't want me
Sondsol,
to actually put out my position.
Sondsol, because you spend all of your free air complaining about it instead of actually getting to the fucking point.
I have to give
Sondsol,
all my free air to try and get you to shut the fuck up so I can say.
with the exception of air, there is nothing more required for life than water. You don't regard a community being cut off from access to water as genocide. What possible value could there be in a conversation with you?
Not in and of itself.
Yes, in and of itself. If you're targeting a community, a specific community with that, yes, in and of itself.
You're adding an extra thing. So in and of itself, you can't say that cutting off water to a community is genocide, but with the intent to destroy them and target them, then you could call it like part of like genocidal actions.
Good.
Do you agree?
So we agree. We agree what's happening to the trans people in the United States is genocidal.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Because we haven't even been able to like cover that part of the conversation.
This is an ASMR channel now. Yes.
Hold on. Your voice is ASMR enough. You don't have to whisper, okay?
Oh, I know.
Yeah. All right. Listen. I think that we can differentiate, just like you said in your own clip, that genocide isn't a good word to use for this. That is my entire point. Genocide is not a good word to use for this. There's definitely wait, oh my God, please. There's definitely something horrible going on.
Can you just never say the phrase "oh my God" again? It's the most aesthetically displeasing thing in the world.
I promise not to say "oh my God" if you let me finish a fucking sentence. So I think that we can 100% say that there is absolutely fucking god awful, horrible shit going on with trans people in this country, right? The bills that are being put out there for no discernible fucking reason. Florida is being run by DeSantis, and he's
there is a reason they hate trans people.
Well, yeah, they hate trans people, but they're not trying to destroy them. There is no way to prove that they're trying. They're
just trying to do things that will make them die and disappear, right? Not destroy them, though.
There's nothing there that is trying to make them die.
The Florida Medical Board is aware of studies and of like the scientific consensus that removing people from being able to access these treatments will cause them to die.
This is the steel man of their position, which I disagree with. I'm going to put that up front so that you can't fucking tell everybody that this is my position. This is not my position. But this is the steel man of their position. They don't think that gender affirmating surgeries is the best way to go about trying to help trans people get over their gender dysphoria. They believe in a lot more like therapy oriented things where they talk things out so they don't do any kind of hormone replacement therapy. They don't look at the data because they're fucking
stupid on the Florida Medical Board.
Fucking Republicans with IQs similar to a fucking stump on the ground. Okay?
Wonderful. So, maybe that's why you can understand them so well. So Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical Board.
Well, I can understand them, and therefore I can try to actually fix the issues in the world. But unfortunately, you're not willing to listen to what's going on in the rest of the world.
I know. I'm the worst. So Zachariah P.
Zachariah, you're just doing exactly what I criticized Demon Mama and
you're doing word things. You're doing word things. Stop doing word things for a second. Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical Board.
Word things like speaking?
Yes. Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical Board was heckled at the end of a conference that he cut short, which had been loaded with anti-trans figures who were not specialists in the field. He'd been heckled saying, "The blood is on your hands. This will cause trans people to die." And he replied, "That's okay."
I believe it was "that's fine," but
if that tastes better going down for you.
Nope, I just wanted to correct you so I could get some room to speak. So I think that we can look at what happened there, and I think that that's something that we can say is really, really fucking horrible, but this is not rising to the level of genocide. It's just simply not.
Because what would rise to the level of genocide?
I think that if we were to see them start actually being able to go through and start separating children from their parents and actually be able to do that, not bills that were struck down in process. I think that if we were to see people,
but they're trying which would make the advocacy for that position genocidal.
I'm almost done.
But they're trying which would make the advocacy for that position genocidal.
If we were to see them start making some kind of like registrar of all trans people in the society so that they could track them and maybe do something later on with them. These are things that we would be approaching genocide at that point, right?
Sondsol. Advocating for genocidal state policy is genocidal.
Oh, okay. So if we had someone in the U.S. That was advocating for like the
no, I'm not holding on. Just shut your face for a second.
Let's interrupt me again.
Shut your grimy pie hole.
Oh,
so
my grimy pie hole.
If we have an insurrectionary party that has managed to secure an extraordinary amount of power in the country, almost ubiquitously advocating for policies that target a specific group for annihilation, that is an attempted genocide. You have literally
ubiquitous. Oh man, there's so much loaded in there. Ubiquitously pushing
across the country,
the country, trying to destroy trans
and
people.
not just legally. They also tried to overturn your previous election.
Why do we not? Well, yeah, that's a completely separate conversation that we would probably largely agree on. But if this is happening all across the country and they're ubiquitously trying to destroy trans people, then why do we not see these the most extreme bills being introduced and passed in every single state? Why is it not happening at the federal level?
Why do we not see them being passed in every single state? They're trying to. They don't have to succeed.
Because not every state's passing these things. Not even all of the Republican states are putting them.
Sondsol, what good are you if you're only capable of identifying a crime once it's already been committed?
What good is trying to destroy an entire group of people but by saying that they're probably going to do something in the future?
What? What do you mean, what good is it? You fucking idiot.
Okay. Speaking to what Demon Mama's point is, to start using speaking to Demon Mama's point about trying to destroy all conservatives and gather guns and start shooting them. I think that if we start doing that, we're going to see even more rollbacks in trans rights.
The previous president was instrumental in trying to violently overthrow the government.
Why do you keep on bringing that up?
What do you mean, why do we keep on bringing that up? This is the party that's trying to implement policies that you agree already would be genocidal.
You have to have some sort of full-fledged fucking plan and intent to destroy a group. You can't have segmented populations in the country. Otherwise, we would have to say that there is a continuous genocide of Jews in this country because there are people that have really, really hated Jews and supported Hitler in this country for ever since Hitler was around. All right, you would have to say that black people were being actively genocided this entire fucking time, the entirety of the United States. But nobody is fucking saying that. Academics are not fucking saying that black people...
We knew the Jews were being targeted when we sent back ships bearing Jews back to Germany.
Was that us genociding Jews?
It was being party to it, absolutely.
Okay, that's fucking crazy. What about black people? Were they being genocided in the United States this entire time?
Is black people an ethnicity, or is black people a color of skin that includes a bunch of ethnicities that through the process of slavery and segregation and racism, et cetera, were probably collapsed and dissolved in large part? Probably a lot of groups are actually completely destroyed by that process. You just don't care about them.
The entire fact.
You just don't care about them because Spielberg didn't make a movie about it.
The entire fact that you decided to bring up the fact that they did not have their own identity that they could point towards is why I used black people. Because
what do you mean they don't have their own identity they can point towards? The identities were destroyed. There were a bunch of different tribal groups and religious groups, et cetera, that were brought over and were flattened.
Yeah, and I'm talking about in the United States history, not fucking British people.
So am I.
So are you going to say that in the United States, even post-slavery, that there has been a fucking black genocide going on?
Cultural, absolutely. Even
what do you mean,
in the other
culturally, black people have been pushing our culture for the entire 20th century.
What are you talking about? Pushing I don't know what that means. They've been pushing our culture. What does that mean?
Everything that we have in terms of our music, in terms of largely our fashion, in terms of a lot of the way that we speak, a lot of our food, a lot of that was that came from black communities.
Oh, I see. Because KFC became popular, therefore black.
KFC was founded by a white man. Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you going to sit here and pretend that blues music and rap music and all of this other shit? Are you going to tell me that soul food is not black stuff?
So
hold on. Hold on.
So hang on.
No, it's my turn to fucking ask you a question.
Calm down for a second.
You're going to tell me right now that black people have not pushed the majority of American culture for the entirety of the 20th and 21st century. Is that what you're going to say? Or are you going to say that you're going to attribute that all to white people?
Sondsol, if stock trans characters in television shows continued to persist after trans identities were completely dismantled and people were no longer able to identify as trans until adulthood or to access treatments that we know now would save their lives. And a large number of them, people use the percentages of their suicides as a joke, as a jab against them.
Oh, wow, that was an amazing virtue signal. But like you just said that there was a cultural genocide of black people.
I'm not
and now
finished.
you're bringing
I'm
up
not
like
finished.
trans people that are like tokens and shows
Sondsol.
as a way to prove that black people haven't like contributed?
No, that's what you're doing. You're saying that, oh, because black culture has had an influence on media, therefore no black group is genocided.
Say that again?
Do you have any idea how stupid you sound?
Say it again.
Now? It is not a retort to, within the category black, a bunch of different cultural and religious and family groups, et cetera, were destroyed as a result of the injustice committed by the American state and by the British state throughout their history. That, oh, well, you know, blues music, like, are you insane?
You're so fucking far off of what I'm talking about. You're trying to move back to like pre-US history. I'm talking about the things that have happened in like during like slavery and beyond, right? From the founding of our country and beyond. You're going to tell me that we were like intending to kill all of the black people or intending to destroy their entire culture despite taking on parts of every single aspect of their culture?
If the Nazis said that, hey, look, we thought we thought work would be good for the Jews and we didn't realize the gas did that, would that no longer be a genocide?
Their intention was to gas the Jews. Our intention was to maintain a hierarchy of whiteness and black people.
Sondsol, how did you determine their intention?
Because there were orders given to exterminate the Jews.
Yes,
they were systematically fucking killed.
Sondsol, yes, they said so. So really what you're saying is all somebody has to do to get away with a genocide is just to tell a nice, pretty story about their good intentions.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're an idiot.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm almost certain that there are no written documents saying that this is what we're going to do to the Jews.
I'm quite certain that there are. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
I don't require them to.
This is directly responding to your point. Please shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because
I don't require them.
No, they did not outwardly say it. It was said between.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, if you don't require them to have intent to destroy.
The most painful part about this is that you actually think it's compelling so long as you breathe fast enough. You're embarrassing.
You're not responding to my point. The Nazis did not have any. They didn't have any written records of saying that they wanted to exterminate the Jews. No, there's no worming. I'm attacking you right now. Okay, you're saying that unless they have written records, then like I would never say that there's a genocide. But the Nazis, they didn't have written records of saying this is what we're going to do to the Jews because they didn't.
You know, we have this wonderful invention called the internet. Let's just actually find that right now. Not that it particularly matters, since that's not a criteria that I have. But let's see. Written record, Nazis, intention to exterminate Jews. Let's see here. He denial assertions that the murder of approximately 6 million Jews during World War II never occurred, that the Nazis had no official policy or intention to exterminate the Jews, and that the poison gas chambers in Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp never existed. Common distortions include, for example, assertions that the 6 million Jewish deaths is an exaggeration, the Diary of Anne Frank is a forgery. You know, I actually wonder, do we, in fact, have documents that prove their intentions? Because it hadn't occurred to me before, but that would actually prove a very serious hindrance to Holocaust denialists if those existed concretely, because you could just point, look, Hitler said this.
Yeah, I mean, like that, but that's like the entire thing that they try to hide behind is that they're saying like, well, they didn't say it, but there's like a clear intention to.
Wait,
like,
so you agree they didn't say it?
That was well, then my point.
What is the basis of the clear intention then?
The basis of the clear intention was to kill all the Jews?
Is it a reasonable inference from the consequences of their policies? Do we not have scientific evidence showing that the action taken, for example, by the Florida Medical Board will result in the deaths of trans people specifically.
Oh, hold on 1 fucking second. This was brought up in direct juxtaposition to your fucking point that like
so
black
fucked,
people that black people were genocided in the United States because there is not a clear intention to destroy all black people in the United States or even part of black people. They were meant to be like suppressed and like kept as a lower class, which is not genocide. Now, maybe you can make that case for like trans people, or maybe we need to come up with an entirely new word.
Black people aren't an ethnicity.
In the United States, African Americans and black people are kind of synonymous.
Why are they synonymous?
Because they don't have their
because
own,
the internal distinctions were destroyed.
Yes, I recognize.
Yes,
I recognize that.
Yeah, so you are standing amidst ruins, and you are saying, "Look at this wonderful level field! Isn't it beautiful?"
What are you talking about? That was never fucking said. Level field?
Okay, let me break this down for you. Metaphors are difficult, I understand. So what you are doing is you are taking a group that has been flattened out because the distinctions internal to that grouping, which is artificial, were destroyed by the oppression done by the state and by different cultural entities allowed to do so by the state.
Yes.
Destroyed them. Yeah. So now all there is in many respects is just the skin color and the way in which the state responds to historical injustice against that skin color,
specifically
because
tried to narrow it down to American.
Because the subcommunities that were wronged so totally that many of them don't even exist anymore to assert their rights.
Because the majority of the slaves came over under British rule, which is why I was very specific in talking about the American history. Like the founding of our country, which is why I said the founding of our country earlier, because I'm trying to make a point that every single aspect, every single thing that you're going to go over on the definition of what a genocide is, you could apply to what was happening to African Americans. Even just if we were to exclude slavery, we could just look at the fucking 1900 to the year 2000. And we could say, based off of all those things, that it was a genocide. But the intentionality there is the important part.
If the Nazis said they were just interested in protecting children, that wouldn't therefore make the Holocaust not a genocide. It wouldn't make the laws discriminating against Jews not genocidal either.
The excuse doesn't take away the intention. You realize that, right?
I agree.
Wait, where is that? Well, then point towards the intention in the 1900s to exterminate black people.
We're not talking about black people anymore, Sondsol. You got to keep up. The stated intent doesn't matter. Trans people are being genocided. They're being targeted for extermination. They've been depersoned.
You have to point towards actual intent to destroy the entire group.
No, you don't, actually. In fact, even the UN definition allows for the destruction of part of a group. You're just wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's a narrowed. That's a narrowed.
In whole or in part.
That's a narrowed definition.
But where is the destruction? It's horrible things that are being done to them. That would be the people. That would be the people. That would be the people. That would be the people who are made incapable of having that as their identity. That would be the children removed from their families and put into the possession of other Except
families.
Except for that hasn't happened because those bills have been shot down.
And that would also be the children who die as a result of not getting access to treatment.
This is the problem, because not only can we not even agree on what the definition is here, because I'm trying to point towards intent,
because you're making it up.
Because you're saying the intent doesn't matter.
Yours is whatever.
If I was to grant everything, if I was to grant everything that you're saying,
yours is whatever paves your exit from having made a complete fool of yourself.
Listen, I feel very confident about this conversation.
I believe you.
If I was to grant everything that you were saying this entire time, then we would talk about what ought be done about it, and then that would also.
Just FYI, black people actually did have advocates at the UN for genocide. They were shot down because, of course, every single Security Council member is actively complicit in genocide. Some ongoing as we speak.
So it is a genocide, and because like the people that are in charge of making sure that the definition is there and like calling it a genocide don't agree, you're going to say that it is still a genocide. And now the Soviet Union, who is on that council, the Soviet Union, who's on that council, also sided with the United States when black people, when the United States was being accused of being a genocide or a genocider. The Soviet Union, when we were like at odds with them, totally just like didn't sell us out for some reason.
That's an interesting question. I actually haven't looked into that. Let's take a look.
What? Hold on. So if I was to grant everything that you've said,
This is a research stream now. 1 second. So here we are. So, 1951, we begin. This is one paragraph. I think we'll just go through the whole thing. I'll just read the whole thing. This is on Wikipedia, the most reliable source in the world. The United Nations formed in 1945. The UN debated and adopted a genocide convention in late 1948, holding that genocide was the, quote, intent to destroy in whole or in part, unquote, a racial group based on the, quote, in part, unquote, definition. The Civil Rights Congress, CRC, a group composed of African Americans with communist affiliations, presented to the UN in 1951 a petition called We Charge Genocide. The petition listed 10,000 unjust deaths of African Americans in the 9 decades since the American Civil War. It described lynching, mistreatment, murder, and oppression by whites against blacks, concluding that the U.S. government was refusing to address, quote, the persistent, widespread, institutionalized commission of the crime of genocide, unquote. The petition was presented to the UN Convention in Paris by CRC leader William L. Patterson and in New York City by the singer and actor Paul Robeson, who was a civil rights activist and a communist member of CRC. The Cold War raised American concerns about communist expansionism. The CRC petition was viewed by the U.S. government as being against America's best interests with regard to fighting communism. The petition was ignored by the UN. Many of the charter countries looked to the U.S. for guidance and were not willing to arm the enemies of the U.S. with more propaganda about its failures in domestic racial policy. American responses to the petition were various. Radio journalist Drew Pearson spoke out against the supposed, quote, communist propaganda, unquote, before it was presented to the UN. Professor Raphael Lemkin, he's the one who coined the term genocide, a Polish lawyer who had helped to draft
so you're
the UN
defending the
Convention.
point that systemic oppression
Who had helped
is
draft the
genocide.
More important people talking right now, just give it 1 second. Who had helped draft the UN Genocide Convention, said the CRC petition was a misguided effort which drew attention away from the Soviet Union's genocide of Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, issued a statement saying that there was no black genocide, even though serious matters of racial discrimination certainly did exist in America. Walter Francis White, leader of the NAACP, wrote that the CRC petition contained, quote, authentic, unquote, instances of discrimination, mostly taken from reliable sources. He said, whatever the sins of the nation against the Negro, and there are many and gruesome, genocide is not among them. Eleanor Roosevelt said that it was ridiculous to characterize long-term discrimination.
Can we say that on Twitch? I just need to know if I need to delete my VOD now.
Negro? I think so.
Shit, I'm sorry. I'm careful with my platform. All right. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how certain are you?
I'm about 5 out of 10, but then
yeah, that's about where I'm at. Okay, I'll hide my VOD. I'm not mad at you. Like, I understand you're just reading off. I got to be careful, you know?
The, quote, We Charge Genocide, unquote, petition received more notice in international news than in domestic U.S. media. French and Czech media carried the story prominently, as did newspapers in India. In 1952, African-American author J. Saunders Redding, traveling in India, was repeatedly asked questions about specific instances of civil rights abuse in the U.S., and the CRC petition was used by Indians to rebut his assertions that U.S. race relations were improving. In the U.S., the petition faded from public awareness by the late 1950s. In 1964, Malcolm X and his Organization of Afro-American Unity, citing the same lynchings and oppression described in the CRC petition, began to prepare their own petition to the UN asserting that the U.S. government was engaging in genocide against black people. The 1964 Malcolm X speech, The Ballot or the Bullet, also draws from We Charge Genocide. After World War II and following many years of mistreatment of African Americans by white Americans, the U.S. government's official policies regarding this mistreatment shifted significantly. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, said in 1946 that negative international opinion about U.S. racial policies helped to pressure the U.S. into alleviating the mistreatment of ethnic minorities. In 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed an order desegregating the military, and black citizens increasingly challenged other forms of racial discrimination. In 1948, even if African Americans worked side by side with their white counterparts, they were often segregated into separate neighborhoods due to redlining. So what it appears here is that the reason why it was not recognized as a genocide or as genocidal was precisely because
there was no intent to destroy.
No, actually, it was because there was an extreme concern that this would provide propaganda for the Soviet powers. It was.
Is that really what you got from that? It was a Red
Scare thing. Yes.
Okay. Well.
Yes.
Fuck. Cool.
Even look. Professor Raphael Lemkin, a Polish lawyer who had helped draft the UN Convention, said the CRC petition was a misguided effort which drew attention away from the Soviet Union's genocide of Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians. He's treating it as a propaganda tool.
Wait, do you think that the Soviet Union didn't do genocides?
No, I think they did do genocides.
But then why is that a propaganda piece?
because
Sorry,
it's
go
being
ahead.
used. It's being used as a tit for tat. It's like all of a sudden China becomes concerned about Canada's treatment of Indigenous Canadians, while they're
No,
being
his point is
lighted
exactly
up
the
for their
same as
treatment
mine
of the
because I
Uyghurs.
feel like if again, like I said earlier, when we use words
No,
that
no.
don't
His point is specifically that it's an effort to draw attention away from the Soviet Union's genocide of Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians.
because they're equivocating the systemic oppression of black people to the like literal fucking genocide that was happening under the Soviet Union.
They were citing murders and segregation, and then within that category of person, you had the
If a
massive just
black person does
flattening
a
of
hate
all these
crime,
different communities into
if a
nothing.
white person does a hate crime to a black person, is that contributing to genocide?
Yes.
Okay.
If you have a group that is being segregated, that is being targeted for depersonning, that
They're
has
not
had
being
that
targeted
has
for
had
depersonning. If we're talking about black people,
look,
they were being
you
targeted.
complain
because they
so
wanted-
much. You complain so much about
I
me
know,
talking over
I
you,
know. I
but
mean,
you
did
won't
just talk
shut
for
up.
like 20 minutes, but like I'll
But you
let
won't
go.
shut
I'll let
up.
you go. I'm letting you go.
You won't shut up. It's like
I'm letting you go. I'm letting you go.
every second.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you know what it feels like. It's fucking ridiculous.
Wait, hold on.
Blah,
You
blah,
don't
blah,
get to
blah,
pull
blah,
that.
just
You don't get to
constantly.
pull that on me. Okay, you've been doing it
Yes,
the
I
entire
do.
time. Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead.
If you have a targeted group for segregation, if you have within that group a whole bunch of cultural groups that were destroyed and just destroyed passively without interest as a result of that mistreatment, and then you have people on top of that going out of their way to kill members of that group out of sheer hatred for that group, yes, that's contributing to genocide.
Okay, but you're missing the key component of the intent there because you said
No, I'm not.
apathy. You said apathy.
No, intent is not necessary. Intent.
It's literally
intent,
necessary for the definition.
No, it's literally not, because intent can literally only be established in those terms by avowals. But we already have, in the case of the Florida board, them being made explicitly aware that this will result in the deaths of a specific group of people, and they said that's fine.
So you don't think that there is any way to inductively reason intent?
No, I think what? No, I'm that's how I'm getting their intent. They know what the consequences are. They are following through on it anyways for ideological and political reasons. It will result in the destruction of this group. The only motive for it is because they hate and despise them.
It's baffling to me because when we look at the reasons why white supremacy worked, or how white supremacy worked in the United States, it wasn't to destroy all black people. Like it was this like weird paternalistic, fucking disgusting.
They don't
weird
have
shit.
to be. They don't have to be trying to destroy all black people. That's not a condition
in
of
part
genocide.
or in whole. They're not trying to
Okay,
destroy them. They were trying to hold them down.
Sondsol.
It's literally 5 words.
No,
5
no,
words,
no,
5 words.
no. You get
They were
none.
trying to
No,
hold them
this is
down.
important.
They were
Sondsol.
trying to hold them down as a subclass, not
I don't care.
destroy them.
Sondsol.
Yes.
If I destroy all Lithuanians in the course of mistreating all white people, is the fact that I haven't destroyed all white people in any way ameliorative of the fact that I have incidentally genocided all Lithuanians? Is that not a genocide now? Because you can find a larger category to which they belong.
What larger category did African Americans belong in?
African Americans is the larger category. And the larger category beyond that is black people. But below that,
Hold on.
because
Yeah, what is the lower one?
African American is not specific. That literally just means,
a black person,
skin,
American,
and
yeah.
an American citizen. Yes.
Right. I mean,
Right. So now you have a tribal. Now you have a tribal group. Now you have a tribal group that has been completely eliminated in the course of the categorical discrimination and abuse of black people as a group.
I'm saying
is that not a genocide?
I think that you could definitely categorize it as a genocide, like probably like up until they became slaves. Like, yeah, 1,000,000%. But after that,
Up until they became slaves. So if it happened after they became slaves, it doesn't count.
Was not a genocide. It was horrible systemic oppression. Yeah.
If the group was destroyed, if a gens was destroyed, it's
Yeah,
not a
blame the
genocide
British on
because
that
they were
one.
also slaves.
Blame the British on that one. Okay.
Who cares who's responsible? We're talking about the definition of genocide
because
here.
I was trying to, the entire point that I'm making, you're trying to go back to the point where they were like, had been.
And also, it doesn't matter if the British
slavery.
it doesn't matter if the British conveyed the slave trade. The Americans
Listen,
still
I just
use
want to blame
slaves.
the Brits for fucking something in this conversation, okay? There hasn't been enough British hate. All right?
Very funny.
But the point is that I'm trying to say is that even if we were to like take away that, all of the conditions that are in the definition of genocide could be applied to what was happening to African Americans in the 1900s. And you wouldn't call that a genocide.
Stop. Sondsol.
And I would compare the treatment of black people in the 1900s to the treatment of trans people now.
Sondsol.
Would you disagree with what I just said?
How many communities did African slaves come from?
I don't know.
Is it more than one?
Probably.
Is it more than 10?
Probably.
Is it more than 100?
I don't know. At that point, I don't know.
How many do you think somebody in politics today could name?
I mean, from the Republican Party, probably zero.
Probably just both. Go with both.
Oh, you don't think that like maybe Ilhan Omar could like name one or two? Like some of the progressives?
Sondsol, the definition of genocide is the targeting of a group for destruction in whole or in part.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
With intent.
No, not just with intent, but intent can be inferred nonetheless. But not
genocide
just with
means
intent.
any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy.
That's the UN definition.
That's the entire
UN
thing
is not
that we've been talking
authoritative in this matter.
It absolutely is because that's the.
No, it's not because the UN is writing policy
then why did
for
you
a federation.
Use, why did you use that definition when you
The
talked
UN is writing policy for state interference in domestic politics.
They are not writing the definition.
They are not writing the definition for theoretical use by everyone.
Isn't that what the point of fucking law is?
What? No,
creating definitions around things so that everyone, so that things can be applied universally.
Sondsol, law is for the community for whom the law is. The UN Declaration isn't a law. This is a treaty organization.
It's international law.
It is. International law is not the same thing as internal domestic state law. They're
I
different.
agree.
This is too complicated a conversation for you. The
no,
point is,
it's not that it's too complicated. It's just that you're trying to run away from the point that I've made like 40 times because you will not fucking bite the bullet.
You don't have a point. You have literally nothing but the reliance on a definition by people whose motives you don't understand.
The reason I know you know that I have a point is because you have been dancing so gracefully around it this entire fucking time. You've been unable to engage with it whatsoever. When I say every single one of the conditions that we know is part of genocide, you could apply that to African Americans in the United States. You've tried to move it away to like, well, what kind of African Americans? Are we talking about black people broadly? We're talking about African Americans? You've moved away from every single part of this. Were black people in the 1900s were African Americans being genocided in the 1900s?
Sondsol, stop rapping for a second.
Were they being genocided in the 1900s? Answer that and then I'll let you talk.
Were black people being genocided in the 1900s?
In the United States.
In the United States?
In the United States.
Black groups within the category of black people absolutely were being flattened and genocided and being destroyed.
Sure.
Yes.
Can you name me like what group was being genocided?
No, but I could find one pretty easily, I'm sure. But that's immaterial.
So you're saying this without like knowing anything about it?
Sondsol, the sound of your voice is like a nail on a chalkboard to everyone here. Just shut up for a second. Article 2, killing members of the group. The policy of the Florida board will kill members of the group.
Yeah, so this goes back to your point that you said that black people who get like hate crimes are immediately being genocided because you're so fucking desperate to find a way to call black people genocide victims.
Shut up. Just shut up. Just stop talking for 5 goddamn seconds. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. That is also a consequence of what they said is just fine.
Yeah.
C, yeah.
We both agree. I
There's 3 more letters.
I know.
3 more letters. You can survive.
We started off
you
this
can't
point by saying
actually.
that we started because it's just going to take too long. Because I already told you that this was how I was defining things.
Sondsol, you have nothing important going on in your life right now. You can wait. C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. They have been made aware of the consequences of their policy. They have said that's fine. This has been calculated. D.
This is the fourth time he's read this shit off, and I've already told him
it is still
yes,
policy.
Based off of this definition,
in
you
very
could
many
definitely call
places
it a
that
fucking
you must
genocide,
be
but it's not
sterilized
genocide.
as a part of your transition process. E. Forcibly transferring children from one group to another. That is being pushed across the United States right now.
It's being pushed in Texas and in Florida. In both states, it did not pass.
There have been proposals ubiquitously everywhere by the same party.
Without looking it up, what other states have introduced that?
Basically all of them. We canvassed them on a
Basically all of
stream a
them.
little while
New
ago.
York and California? Hello?
Anti-trans bills.
Oh, you have to look it up. So this is what I'm saying.
Of course I have to look it up.
You keep on like making strong statements, and then you're going to have to like fucking look it up afterwards because you don't actually have the factual statements.
That's how we
statements.
Sondsol.
Yeah, usually you do the research before the debate. President Sunday.
I'm not having a debate with you. You're an idiot. I'm
Yeah,
looking this up so I have a
You're
list.
just too below me to have a debate. I'm simply sitting here
There's
getting
a
fucking
lengthy
saying that a black man who gets killed by a white guy is being genocided because I'm so fucking stupid and unwilling to fucking concede a single point that I'm going to say that one person being killed is a genocide.
What?
You
What do you
literally
mean one person being killed?
I said earlier, a white person killing a black person as a hate crime, would that be a genocide? And you said, yes, it would be contributing to a genocide, even though there is no intent by the government in that scenario.
Since 2018, nearly 670 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed since 2018.
That's not
238 of them are targeting the rights of... What?
It didn't address what I just said whatsoever. Are you going to just
That's because what you say is just a meaningless blur.
Yeah, it's meaningless because you're so scared to fucking admit that you're saying stupid shit that you can't let me fucking speak.
I'm particularizing the claim.
You're just wanting to read off all these articles until I get too bored to fucking talk to you.
Well, I'm too bored to talk to you, yet here we are.
Yeah, and yet you're still fucking trying to fucking dig yourself out of the hole that you've dug yourself into.
I'm not in a hole. I'm peering down one right now. At this point, I'm talking to you as a courtesy. I'm trying to find you a list. Give me a second.
So wait, do you want to walk back the statement that like a white guy who does a hate crime on a black guy kills him? You want to walk back that would be a genocide? That
contributes to genocide? No.
No, that it is part of a genocide.
Your language was it contributes to genocide, and yes, it would be part of a genocide depending on where it is.
Oh no, not depending. Just that one statement.
Your statement was contributing, and I affirmed that one. Now, depending on where it is,
would it be contributing to a genocide if there is no intent by any kind of governmental organization? That's why I left that part out of the hypothetical.
If a genocide is nonetheless taking place, yes, because I don't think intent matters. It doesn't matter.
And yet you can't like point towards intent by well, if you don't think intent matters, then what the fuck is the point of the entire conversation?
How about this dipshit? How about this dipshit? What if the Nazis didn't intend to eliminate the Jews? They just intended to purify their race. Is it not a genocide then? Was the
way that they were purifying the race by exterminating the Jews? Because the intent would be to exterminate the Jews in order, like the reason, like we said earlier, and you said you agree that the reason doesn't matter.
Well done.
If the intent, intent is still there.
Well done, you worthless.
The intent is still important.
Yes, you said that already. Well done, you worthless idiot.
Yes, you agreed earlier. Now you're
well
trying to walk it
done,
back.
you worthless idiot. I'm not done speaking. Shut your trap for a second.
So the intent matters.
Well done, you worthless idiot. It doesn't matter if they say they're protecting children if they're still genociding trans people.
But the intent is still important. He can't fucking do it. What a fucking loser. What a fucking loser. Oh my fucking God, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. What a fucking coward weasel piece of shit. Jesus goddamn Christ. Okay. Running away for the fucking 40th fucking time. Jesus fucking Christ. The intent doesn't matter. Okay, so like then he brings up the fucking the fucking Nazis. He says, well, what if their intent was just what if their reason was they were just trying to purify their race? Okay, well, did they still intentionally kill the Jews? There, you got it, Sondsol. You got it. You got it. You got it. Shut the fuck up. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Like, holy shit, he is trying to hold two positions at once while not actually fucking saying fucking anything. He was at the very beginning of that. I said, can you steel man my position? And he couldn't fucking do it. What a fucking stupid piece of shit. I actually thought that the guy was a little bit intelligent until now, right? I actually thought he was a little bit intelligent. I knew he was bad faith, but that was like, the guy was actually fucking retarded. Holy fucking shit, dude. What the fuck? Okay, critique time. What did you guys think? He's so unbelievably unable to actually engage with a goddamn thing that I fucking said. You showed great patience. I mean, I was pretty patient. I let him read off like 4 fucking articles. 4 fucking articles, dude. He just kept on reading because like I would corner him and then he would like demand to read off an entire thing. No. Sondsol. This is now a research stream. This is now hold on, Tegma. He said a semi-slur, so I had to hide the VOD, but it'll be on YouTube shortly. But I'm not getting banned off of Twitch because he decided to say the soft N-word, the softest N-word.
Apple juice.